4 million years after the nuclear wars, humanity's first mutation was born from the fallout, and thousands of children began appearing with abilities that destroyed the laws of physics. However, the USSR isolated all of them on a remote island and trained them to become the coldest super soldiers in the world, but brainwashed them to believe they were fighting enemies that never existed. Among one of those mutations was Issei, an ugly, disgusting, worthless loser who was bullied for hiding his overpowered abilities. However, when a transfer student entered the class, the fat-ass dickhead thought he found a new victim and commanded him to reveal his secret talent, but Kiyoya threatened to cut his arm off. After getting to his seat, a hot pink-haired girl made it to class, saying that her name was Nana, and that she had the ability to read people's minds, but asked the guys to stop thinking about bending her over already. The only seat left was next to Issei, and after class was over, Nana came up to him, asking him if he was being bullied for how ugly he was. However, she said that she wanted to be his friend, but Mugo came to shove his worthless face into the desk, telling Nana not to hang out with such a weak, talentless loser. This was the life he's always lived, because ever since he was a child, everyone avoided him for being a mutation. And even his own father wished that he didn't give life to a demon, so he swore that he would never use his powers ever again. But his father still sent him to the remote island, where everyone made fun of him for having no abilities. As he began heading home, Nana watched him from the distance and began following him around, telling him there was a spot she wanted to see with him. Next to the cliff, Nana wondered why he was hiding his powers, so he lied by saying that it was to remain safe, since there were rumors of the enemies of humanity infiltrating their island. But as he kept talking, a gust of wind rushed towards Nana, pushing her off the edge and ripping the rope beneath her. At the same time, Kiyoya was investigating the two of them, realizing something was off. After being saved, Nana thanked Issei for saving her life, but he never realized that this was all part of her plan. After going back to his dorm, she told him to become the class representative, since she thought he was different from all the others, but he told her to stop talking about being a leader as she was reminding him of his father. However, she wondered why he hated his father, since his thoughts revealed that he actually looked up to him. But after saying those words, Issei thought it was disgusting how she knew everything about him without saying a word, and told her to leave him alone. That night, he wondered why his life changed so suddenly, as he had never touched or even talked to a girl before in his life. Just like all you losers watching the video right now.
Yo, that one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Just then, he heard knocking on his door and wondered why she was in the boys' dormitory. But she handed him back the watch he left in the cafeteria, and he realized that she spent all night looking for it, just to make him feel better. The following day, the duel for the class representative was about to begin, and the Ice Prince Seiya was facing off against Mugo. As soon as the battle began, Seiya was able to block his attack and leap to launch ice spears towards him, scratching his face. However, Mugo decided to activate his fire talent, unleashing his final fire, while Seiya blocked with his freezing storm. But although his attacks penetrated Seiya's defenses, he countered in the last instant by freezing his foot to the ground. As everyone celebrated, Nana congratulated him on becoming the leader, but Kiyoya stared towards them with gleaming eyes. Seeing the way she cheered for a different guy, he realized that she was just another hoe, but Mugo wouldn't accept being defeated by such a worthless talent, and launched his Giga Inferno towards them. Before it would burn Nana alive, Issei remembered the way he's always been living in fear, but decided that it didn't matter what his bastard father thought, awakening his overpowered skill. Once the fire settled, he apologized for not thanking her the night before, and revealed that he had the ability to neutralize the other mutants' talents. Seeing his powers, she thought he was the strongest man alive, and everyone decided to make Issei their leader. As the sun was setting, he thanked Nana for bringing his powers out, since he was always afraid of his powers ending lives, but realized that he could be saving others instead. Just then, Nana asked him if his powers of neutralizing talents could be used to suppress her mind-reading ability, and wondered if touching her body was the way to make it happen. So she grabbed his hand and began tearing up, saying that it was the first time in her life that voices weren't screaming in her head. When he thought that her life must have also been difficult, he wondered if she was able to guess what he was thinking about right now, so she smiled, telling him that she can.
僕は今からこの子に殺されなければならないのか。だろ?
All this time, she knew that he was being bullied since he would pretend to read a book without turning pages, and had called him kind because of the cat scratch on his neck. On top of that, the watch on his hand is how she determined his relationship with his father, since it must have been a gift from someone who cared about him. But since he forgot it, she knew that he had some resentment against the person who gave it to him, and confirmed his hatred of his father by provoking him the night before. In that moment, he realized that she was one of the enemies, but she said that he was the real enemy of humanity, asking him to erase his existence from this world, as she read that he had killed over 1 million people. The following day, she used the phone given to her by the agency, which contained the number of murders each of these mutated children committed, and instructed her to kill all of them. While they were trading, Mugo wondered why Issei disappeared as soon as he became a leader, but Nana pretended as if she had no idea what happened. Just then, a moron called Yoahi nearly fell into the lake, and screamed that he didn't know how to swim, so Seiya descended to freeze the entire pond. And Nana thought it was disgusting how children like him had the power to destroy the world, as she became determined to kill all of them. While they ate their lunch, Mugo began bullying another victim, but before he punched his face, time warped in that instant. He somehow ended up on the floor, and Yoahi reminded him that he hated nothing more than people who made noise during his mealtime. Seeing his powers, Seiya revealed that Yoahi was able to freeze time. But Nana noticed something was off about the victim's tie, so while he was eating lunch, Nana decided to join him and began gagging on his meat. However, he reminded her that he hated noisy people, but she told him that he was swallowing his own meat louder than her.
Pause.
Looking at the table, she pretended as if she wanted his pickle in her mouth and knocked his cup of water over, but time warped in that instant, returning it back to where it was. As he began breathing heavily, he revealed that this was his ability to freeze time. But she knew he was lying, and asked him what his power really was, so realizing she could read his mind anyway, he revealed that he had the ability to change the past. But she had already known that, since he wouldn't have went out of his way to clean every single water droplet, and knew that he wouldn't have fixed his classmate's tie after he was grabbed. However, he was the worst mutation for her to deal with, and Kyoya appeared in that moment, asking him to go back in time to find out what happened to Issei. This was her greatest fear had come true, but she wondered what he meant by disappearance, since she thought Issei was just sick. However, Kyoya thought he definitely wasn't sick, since their rooms were next to each other, and he didn't even respond when he knocked on his door. At the same time, he remembered seeing him leave school with Nana right before he disappeared, so he asked her where they went, and what they were doing. As she tried to think of a way out of this, she knew that her story would start falling apart, especially if he had an investigative talent. However, she tried to change the subject by asking him why he was grabbing her hair, so he revealed that he felt compelled to grab onto loose ends. Nana wondered if he just called her loose, but tried to throw the suspicion off her, so she wondered if the enemies of humanity were the ones who killed him. Just then, she flanked her eyes towards Kyoya, and thought it was definitely not possible for Kyoya to be one of them. After all, she could read people's minds, and wondered why he cared about Issei, even though he completely distanced himself from everyone else, but Kyoya smiled at them before leaving. Yoahi thought it was strange how he knew they were going to be here, and said they should investigate if he was the one who killed Issei. Although she pretended to be happy, she knew the truth would be uncovered soon. In front of the boys' dorm, Yoahi went back in time and returned a few seconds later, saying that he couldn't see Issei returning back home before collapsing onto the ground. He revealed that the limitation of his talent was how weak it made him, but Nana wondered how she would kill him, since he could just return to the past and kill her instead. So she asked him how far he could go back in time, and when he said that 24 hours was his limit, she thought something else was off, because he could have kept following Issei until he discovered what happened to him. As he kept traveling to the past, Nana knew he was getting closer to discovering the truth. But he thought her ability of reading minds was a problem, since she was able to notice him whenever he traveled back in time. After hearing those words, she realized that him being spotted was sending him back to the present. And although he said she was right, she still had no idea how to kill him off before he discovered the truth. So she tried telling him to wait until tomorrow, but he wondered why she was trying to stop him from finding out what happened to her friend. As she froze, he asked her if she was the one who killed Issei after all, but when they got to the cliff and he traveled back in time, she realized that the only thing she could do was trust in herself. After coming back, he realized they were truly close friends for the way they held hands, so she smiled at him, but realized that her memories were just overwritten. Right before she would kill Issei, she was extremely attentive to her surroundings, and noticed Yoahi in that moment, so she waited to make sure he was gone before pushing Issei off. Thinking she was innocent, Yoahi apologized for doubting her and decided to call it a day. That night, Nana was in the shed looking for shovels before knocking on Yoihi's door in the middle of the night. As they ran through the forest, he wondered why she hid the truth, but she claimed that she didn't trust him yet, so she pointed to where Issei was attacked. She revealed that after holding hands, they began getting chased by a monster to this part of the woods, where they ate Issei, leaving nothing behind. She was too scared to do anything, but thought that Yoihi might be able to save him, since this was where he was eaten. So he decided to try to find a way of changing the past, but as soon as he went back in time, he never returned. Once she was safe, she began digging up the dirt, revealing the frozen pond underneath. Last night, the lake wasn't frozen yet, so knowing that he couldn't swim, along with how tired time traveling made him, she knew he would drown right away. On top of that, no one would notice his body the following day since Seiya would freeze the lake. This careful planning was all she needed to stay undetected from Kiyoya's investigations. That same night, Kiyoya was back at the cliff where Issei died and decided to leap down into the ocean. The following morning, as Mugo and Seiya began wondering how Yoihi mysteriously vanished, Nana realized they would start to suspect that a serial killer was among them. Just then, Seiya tried cornering Nana to use his best Discord pickup line, asking her if she's a rope because he'd love to hang with her. However, Nana tried telling him that his girlfriend may not be happy about it, and when Seiya wondered how she found out they were dating, she began reminding him that she could read their minds. But Kiyoya appeared at that moment, saying that it was obvious that they shared an umbrella, since they were both wet on only one side. Realizing he was trying to ruin her plans, along with seeing the seaweed on his head, Nana decided to ask him if he would eat lunch with her.
He cold.
However, she wouldn't quit and continued tailing him throughout the entire day. After he returned to the dormitory, Nana decided to visit his shack and discovered that he was actually caring for a stray cat. She thought he must be smarter than he looks, so she decided to meet him again, making another attempt to know him. However, this time, Kiyoya asked her to become his friend, but she began wondering if he was suspecting her. As he invited her into his room, she realized that he was the typical worthless Reddit Discord mod that only showered once a month, and that his room was more disgusting than your worthless face. So as they started playing a video game, Kiyoya told her that he actually intends to make new friends, but asked for her advice in how to get closer to people. After all, she managed to befriend Issei and Yoihi within a few days on the island. But after telling him that he should stop looking like a scary douchebag, Nana began wondering why she couldn't figure out what his talent is. However, as she decided to ask if he was investigating Issei's disappearance, Kiyoya told her that his sister went missing after getting sent to this island, so he hopes that discovering Issei's murderer would get him closer to his sister. That evening, as Nana was about to leave, Kiyoya showed her Issei's watch and asked if she's ever seen it. Before Nana could think of something to make up, Kiyoya suggested they head off to the cliff. After arriving, he began wondering if she hung out with Issei on the night he went missing. He already figured out that Issei must have owned the watch, having found it at the bottom of the cliff, and thought he must have thrown it with his last bit of power so someone could find it. Afraid she would get exposed, Nana began saying that he must have decided to hug the ground, but Kiyoya wasn't buying her disgusting lie, and began saying that he could have been pushed off the edge. When Nana tried saying that he could have been killed by enemies of humanity, Kiyoya thought it made no sense, and began wondering why monsters would push him off a cliff when they could just eat him out. Hearing these words, Nana realized that Kiyoya was much smarter than the other two morons she already killed were, and Kiyoya began saying that he would report Issei's death to the useless officials of the school. Afraid of the truth getting revealed, Nana tried telling him that the news would drive all the students into panic. But when she realized that Kiyoya's mind was already made up, she decided to ask what his talent is, thinking she could kill him once she discovers it. However, Kiyoya wouldn't play into her hands, and told her to read it in his mind if she was really a psychic. That night in Nana's room, as she made her report to the committee, she began remembering her earlier request to them. Before heading for the island, she had asked that they reveal all the teenagers' abilities, saying that it would help her to create a better plan in eliminating them. However, the committee told her that the talented abilities often evolve when they hit puberty, and that they could awaken new powers regardless of their original data. As Nana realized that the talented's abilities often have a limit, she thought she must figure out the limit to Kiyoya's own ability. The following day, after explaining to the teacher that Issei may be dead, Kiyoya decided to reveal his broken watch. So with the teacher stunned by the news, Nana realized that the school faculty were entirely useless, and that they have no clue what the committee's true intentions are. As they were about to leave, Nana began saying that Issei's cat was missing, and thought it must be starving. Her intention was to lure Kiyoya back to the shack, but as she hurried off, he began wondering why she couldn't even pretend to be worried about Issei's disappearance. At sunset, Kiyoya decided to return to the shack, and began wondering if the enemies of humanity even exist. But Nana thought that no one knew the secret of this island. The talented thought they were brought to this island to fight the enemies of humanity, so it would never occur to them that a talentless was among them, killing them, and thought she had an overwhelming advantage. However, Kiyoya thought a human was definitely responsible for the disappearances, but if its goal was to kill them, then he was convinced that he had the overwhelming advantage. After arriving inside, he realized that the cat was nowhere in sight, but decided to warm up its milk anyway. At the same time, Nana was glad that her plans were working out perfectly, having figured out that Kiyoya has no sense of smell, since his room always smelled like an anime convention, and he needed to put expiration dates on his vegetables instead of smelling them. So as he ignited the stove, it exploded from a gas leak. However, while she was waiting to discover if his talent would be revealed, she noticed he was burned up and began thinking he was finally dead. Pretending to call for help, she tried running off, but he caught her ankle and caused her to fall. He began wondering why she was the first one on the scene, and wondered how she knew to scream his name out, even though his entire body was burned beyond recognition. But she noticed that his wound was already healing. He apologized for suspecting her, since he thought his dear friend would never try to kill him, but wondered why her face looked like she was seeing a ghost. After all, she had the ability to read minds, but was somehow shocked to find out he was an immortal, so he decided to reveal another secret since they were friends. He was born without the ability to smell anything, but said that it wasn't his talent's weakness. However, since all talents come at a price, he told her that he would project his weakness to the front of his mind, so if she can really read minds, she would know what it was. So pretending to have read his mind, she told him she would protect his secret. But as he began to leave, she realized she must discover his weakness at all costs. The next day at school, Mugo began accusing Kiyoya of intentionally blowing up the shack, but Kiyoya told him that a killer tried to eliminate him, the same one who killed Issei and Yohi. Seiya thought his words made sense, but began saying that a new leader must be chosen, seeing as Issei was nowhere to be found. Realizing her opportunity, Nana thought she could easily divert Kiyoya's attention away from her if she manages to become the leader. Just then, two ugly losers began saying that they found a love letter inside Michiru's locker. But as one of them began reading it, Nana thought they were the most useless low-lives she's ever seen, since they had concealed the word idiot in the letter. Just then, Michiru noticed her wound and decided to lick her bone. At that moment, Nana realized that her wound had healed up, but the other girls told her to use her ability less, since it drains her lifespan away. However, when she decided to check her data, she discovered that Michiru has killed over 150,000 civilians, and thought she would have to kill her just like the others. After stepping outside, she discovered that Kiyoya was stalking her, but he decided to leave. Later that day, while Michiru was waiting for her secret admirer, Nana appeared, revealing that the person never existed, and that the useless ugly girls merely wrote the letter to make fun of her. So with their scheme already exposed, the useless girls decided to run away. That night, Nana was glad to have discovered Michiru's full ability, having figured out that she could only heal with her tongue. She thought she could easily stab her in the back, as her tongue wouldn't be able to heal her there. However, as she tried leaving for her room, she discovered that Kiyoya was waiting outside. But when she asked him why a Discord mod was stalking and lurking outside her room, Kiyoya told her that he's trying to protect her from the killer. However, she knew he was trying to restrain her from leaving, to see if the killings disappeared, so she returned into her room immediately. A few minutes later, Kiyoya realized she had cranked up the music, but as he decided to look through her window, he spotted her running into the other dormitory. Before long, she entered Michiru's room and screamed that an enemy of humanity was standing at the window. At the same time, Kiyoya heard Michiru's scream and began running towards her room, thinking that Nana must have found another victim to kill. However, when he entered the room, he found Nana injured, with Michiru trying to lick her wound. When he wondered how she got injured, the ugly, disgusting liar began saying that she overheard a killer's thought, and decided to save Michiru from getting isekai'd. With Kiyoya unwilling to buy into her useless lies, he began wondering why no one saw the killer, and why she didn't ask him for help knowing he's an immortal. However, Nana was proud to have successfully pulled off her plan, making herself another alleged victim of the killer's attacks. With this cheap trick, she thought she couldn't possibly be considered a suspect, but Kiyoya thought her stories weren't adding up. So the following day, he asked her to explain exactly what happened, but she repeated the same lies. As he began thinking that her stories are fake, he wondered why she jumped out of her window, and thought she must have intentionally wounded herself in Michiru's room, knowing that she has the ability to heal injuries. At that moment, the other students arrived, and Mugo and Seiya began fighting over who the leader of the class should be again. Desperate to win them over, she began crying that it was her fault for Issei being dead, since she didn't use her psychic ability to discover the enemy's whereabouts faster. With all the losers feeling bad for her, Michiru suggested they make her their new leader, saying that she saved her from being killed. So all the morons decided to accept her, since her talent would allow them to find the enemies of humanity before they attacked. But Kyoya noticed the stitching on her back, and realized it was sus. After school, Nana told Michiru to make a record of everyone's talent, saying that she needs it as an emergency. As the moronic girl believed her crap, she decided to carry on the task. Just then, Kyoya appeared before her and began to apologize for suspecting her. But as he was about to leave, he began wondering why a monster would stab her with a sharp needle-like weapon, especially since they were believed to have claws. However, he wished her luck, and Nana realized that he was just pretending to believe her. So at night, she decided to prepare poison needles, hoping to annihilate everyone at the same time. But when she arrived at the dormitory, a new student showed up, asking to speak with her. His name was Hadadera, and he decided to tell her that his talent was to see the future. So he revealed a photograph, and began asking why she intends to kill him. He had taken the snap from the future, but with Nana too stunned to answer, he suggested they have dinner together. Before long, he began kicking the cafeteria door, and wouldn't stop until they were eventually allowed inside. So after making an order, he began telling her that his psychic photograph always comes true, and revealing another photograph, he told her that she would get plastered with spaghetti. At that moment, the lady arrived with Nana's order, but she turned it down immediately, hoping this would allow her to change the future. However, as the lady tried to leave, she slipped on the floor, and the spaghetti managed to still land on Nana's useless face. Proud of his ability, Hadadera told her that she couldn't possibly overwrite the future, and decided to ask why she intends to eliminate him. With Nana refusing to say, he decided to reveal another photograph of Issei's fall from the cliff, saying his ability manifested it the day she transferred to their school, and demanded to know why she killed him. However, at that moment, Nana realized that he doesn't actually intend to reveal the truth to the others, but was only looking to force her into doing everything he wants. So as she told him that she's willing to obey his commands, the ugly loser asked her to become his girlfriend, since he was a lonely virgin his entire life. Inside his dormitory, he decided to make her his private massager, and commanded her to massage every inch of his body. So to discover the limits of his ability, she began wondering if he's ever managed to change the outcome of his premonitions. But he told her that it was completely impossible. Luckily, he wasn't dead in the photograph, and as he thought it was forecasted for 10 p.m. the following night, he told her that every attempt to kill him would definitely fail. With his premonition being a definite assurance of the future, Hadadera was certain that he would stay alive until it comes true. At the same time, Nana began wondering if she could end his life right here, but was afraid that his visions could really be set in stone. However, when she tried to leave, Hadadera commanded her to return, saying that she's now his girl, and that they must begin developing plot like every other couple. But as he passed out, Nana noticed his camera, and decided to stay up all through the night even as he slept. Eventually, she noticed new photographs as they began ejecting, and as she discovered the photographs were actually snapshots of his dreams, Nana realized that he has no control over what parts of the future he sees. For this reason, she thought she had the upper hand, as he couldn't foresee every single thing that would happen. However, there was one photo that she couldn't allow anyone to see, so she took a fake one to replace it, but realized that she must destroy the others before they were found. In the morning, when the loser woke up, he began revealing that he always has 5 premonitions every night, but said that he only found 4 photographs next to his pillow. He thought she must have hidden the last one, and decided to search through her clothes. As he found it, he realized it was an image of Nana's own execution, and was glad that he would end up killing her. So he told her to meet him in the shed at night, hoping to recreate the image. However, after he left, Nana decided to revert his watch, hoping to make him lose sense of time. That night, she arrived first at the shed, but her needles flew under a table. As the ugly loser entered, he grew confident that he would eliminate Nana. So as she tried to strangle him, he managed to remove the rope, and punched her to the floor. Looking to end her, he revealed that he already reset his watch, and that she couldn't possibly kill him since his newest premonition forecast that he would end her life at 10 p.m. So with Nana subdued, the moron began thinking it was over, but as he tried feeling her plot, she caught his hand, leaving him paralyzed at that instant. She had managed to pierce him with her poisonous needle, but told him that his photographs truly predicted the future after all. When Hadadera began wondering how it all went wrong, Nana told him that the last photograph was a fake, and that she intentionally lured him here, knowing already that he would let down his guard and grow confident of overcoming her. At that moment, she decided to reveal the actual photograph, but this was the worst part of her entire plan, since Kiyoya and Michiru entered at the same time. As they began wondering what happened, Nana screamed at Michiru to save Hadadera, saying that he fell from an accident. However, Kiyoya wasn't buying her fake tears, and decided to reveal her photograph, saying that they found it inside Hadadera's room. As he demanded to know why she was staying with him, Nana claimed that he had taken photos of her in the bathtub, and forced her to become his girlfriend, so Kiyoya wondered if she tried killing him to get her freedom back. However, she revealed that it couldn't be her, since his body had no external wounds, and said that she thought she saw the enemies of humanity. But when Kiyoya wondered how these enemies could kill people without inflicting physical damage, Michiru remembered they had the ability to cast curses to kill their victims. Even so, Kiyoya thought these enemies of humanity had broken abilities, but Nana smiled at him, since they were the ones who could time travel, have immortal lives, and even predict the future. As she began to leave, Kiyoya thought her disgusting face was definitely sus, but Nana's only desire was to retrieve the remaining photographs in Hadadera's room. Before long, she started looking around the room, glad that none of the photographs have been found. But as Kiyoya appeared behind her, she managed to slip them into her bag. When he asked why she returned to this room, she told him that she was gathering all her stuff, but he began wondering why she was still alive when the psychic photograph already forecasted her death. On top of that, he thought it looked like a fake photo since the rope was double wrapped. In cases of murder, the rope is wrapped around once, since the victim is trying to escape as the killer is trying to wrap it, making it extremely difficult to double wrap the rope. As he handed it back to her, he began wondering why she took a photo of herself, but realized that she wanted Hadadera to let his guard down once he began thinking that fate was on his side. After she left, he thought something bad must have happened between both of them, but wished that he arrived sooner to search the room for clues. At Nana's room, when she decided to check the photographs again, she discovered that one of them was missing, and realized that it must be on Hadadera's body. At the same time, Michiru was trying to heal him with her ability, but after realizing that Hadadera's soul had already entered Nirvana, she remembered that her powers could never bring someone from the dead. It was the image of Issei's fall from the cliff, but before her useless brain could figure it out, Nana appeared at that moment, wondering what she was holding. With the moron too slow to discover the truth, she asked Nana what the photo was, so she took it away, saying that it looked like Hadadera never had the ability to see the future. Instead, she said that every photo he took was merely an image of his dreams, and asked her to keep what she saw a secret between both of them. Realizing it meant they were going to be close friends, Michiru promised she would. A few days later, as all the students gathered for Hadadera's funeral, Kiyoya began asking why the school officials weren't trying to investigate his death, but even the teacher had no idea. As Kiyoya decided to take charge, he began saying that Hadadera must have been murdered. But Nana was desperate to protect her secrets, and decided to stop him, saying that he would cause everyone to panic. But he told her that he must perform an autopsy on the dead body. Hoping to dissuade him, the psycho asked to talk with him outside. As she began wondering why he wouldn't accept that Hadadera died from an enemy of humanity, Kiyoya thought it was too coincidental for him to die while assaulting her, especially since she was also somehow nearby when his shed exploded. However, she tried to deflect the blame off of her, asking him why a killer would attempt to end his life if he was an immortal. Hearing those words, he realized that she had a point, because since she could read minds, he would naturally be her last target. Without knowing it, he had fallen for her trap, as she was exploiting the premise that only the talented were allowed on this island. Even so, he began returning to the funeral home, determined to make the autopsy. But as Kiyoya opened the coffin, the body rose up on its own, and a kid stepped up to the front. His name was Shinji, and he revealed that he could make the dead confess the truth of their death. With his necromancy power, he said that he could even make the dead walk again. Hearing these words, the others began wondering if this was some horror freak show, but a useless girl appeared at that moment, telling them that Shinji was just a regular guy. However, Shinji began saying that he could see through Hadadeira's eyes if he wishes, and could even draw out the memories of his final moments. With a final act of desperation, Nana began screaming that Hadadeira's soul would be violated, and that she could hear him screaming from hell. The thought made all the students afraid, and as Kyoya realized they would all start seeing him as the villain, he decided to call it off. Right then, Shinji made him return into the coffin, but Nana already recognized him as her next target. So when they were in class the following morning, she decided to ask the girl where Shinji stays during the day. As Yuka began saying that he was always inside his room, Nana realized they were dating, and thought that she needed to kill both of them off at the same time. So that evening, she started spying on them from behind a tree. But when Kyoya appeared before her and asked her what she was doing, she began saying that she was just going for a late night walk.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now!
With Kyoya already knowing her ugly ass face was lying to him, he began wondering if Shinji was her new target. But the pair noticed their presence at that moment. So as Shinji began to leave, Kyoya noticed his bandaged arm and wondered how he got burned. As Yuki decided to reveal that he got caught in a fire while trying to rescue a bunch of people, she said he only managed to survive because she rescued him. The next day, as Nana pretended to be sick, she decided to lay down in the infirmary, and Michiru thought she needed special attention. However, when she left, Nana realized she could easily slip out the window to the boys' dormitory and return before anyone notices. With Kyoya patrolling the island every night, she thought she couldn't get a better time than now. So she ran off immediately, reading that Shinji had committed over 300,000 murders. After arriving in his room, she pierced him with her needle, telling him that Yuka would soon be joining him in the afterlife. However, as she started running back to the infirmary, she noticed a cat that was stuck inside the gutter. At the same time, Kyoya and Michiru had arrived at the infirmary, but as he drew the curtain, they realized that Nana wasn't inside. Just then, she started banging on the windows, saying that she found a stray cat. So after they arrived at the spot, she told Yuka to lift the grate with her superhuman strength, hoping to figure out the limits of her power. However, Yuka told her that cats always trigger her allergy, making it impossible to use her powers. That night, while she was sleeping, Nana successfully sneaked into her room and was ready to end her just like she killed Shinji. However, a shadow knocked her to the ground, and she realized that she screwed herself over. Through his strong grip, she realized that Shinji was still alive, and that while he possesses the superhuman strength, Yuka was actually the necromancer. At that moment, Nana realized that Shinji had died a long time ago, but that Yuka has been animating his body this entire time. As Yuka found the needle, she began revealing the true story, saying that Shinji actually died inside the fire. But she couldn't live her life without him, so she decided to never allow him to die. When Shinji began suggesting they eliminate her immediately, Yuka wondered if they should spare her life instead. But Nana realized she had split personality disorder and thought Yuka was even worse than her. Just then, Shinji found the rest of her needles, so Yuka began saying that she would expose her secrets to the entire class. But in that moment, Nana decided to reveal that she was the one who killed all of them. But although she was a murderer, at least she didn't toy with the bodies of the dead. Even though Yuka knew the truth, Nana began saying that the others would believe she's innocent once she tells them that Yuka captured her while she was on a night walk. But when Yuka tried saying that Shinji was a witness of her attack, Nana told her that she would reveal he's a corpse, and that she has been animating his body. With Yuka growing reluctant to reveal the truth, Nana suggested they keep each other's secrets, and in addition, promised to reveal Shinji's thoughts. Tempted by this offer, Yuka decided to set her free, but Nana realized she has successfully outsmarted her. As she pretended to read Shinji's thoughts, she told her that Shinji's soul wants to kill Nana, but ran away immediately. As Shinji thought her words made sense, he began suggesting that they kill her, as Yuka could easily animate her body once she was dead, and could use her powers to read his soul whenever she wants. Thinking it was the best plan in the world, Yuka agreed that they hunt her down immediately. However, Nana was glad that she managed to lure her outside, but as Shinji noticed her presence, she began running off. By the time Yuka and Shinji arrived in the forest, Nana began asking Yuka if she animates Shinji's body with her ugly necklace, so Yuka decided to reveal that she could only animate a body when she acquires a piece of their property. As Yuka shined her light into the bushes, she realized that Nana wasn't there. But when Nana leaped from behind to snatch the necklace, Shinji appeared to strike her. But she shoved Yuka away and ran off into the darkness. She began wondering how she could snatch the necklace and noticed she was being followed, but wondered how Yuka was trailing her in the dark. Just then, a zombie appeared before her, trying to capture her, but she managed to escape. However, more zombies appeared at the same time, so Yuka revealed that she managed to animate the other bodies that were buried on the island. Luckily, Nana managed to escape from them, but after noticing another zombie, she started running as fast as she can. Eventually, she arrived at a cottage and realized that the door could only be locked from the outside. So deciding to test Yuka's weakness, she began hammering the door, looking to seal herself inside. But as Yuka and her dead men arrived, Nana ran inside instantly. However, as Yuka began thinking it was a trap to separate her from Shinji, she decided to animate the dead bodies inside, and they appeared behind Nana at that instant. Luckily, the sun began to rise, and as all the zombies passed out, Nana realized that Yuka's weakness was being able to only animate the dead bodies at night. Looking to trap her inside, Yuka decided to lock the door, saying that she would return at sunset. But Nana nearly stabbed her face. At class, Kiyoya decided to ask her if she spotted Nana, but Yuka told him that she didn't trap her inside a cottage or anything like that. At the same time, Nana had dressed up one of the zombies to look like her, and when the night arrived, Yuka stood in front of the cottage with her zombie squad. But when she opened the door, they realized that they couldn't find Nana anywhere, until Yuka found her body lying dead on the floor. But as she picked up her head, she realized that she had tricked them, and screamed at her zombies to search around the forest, but they found no traces of her. When it was morning, Yuka began returning with her corpse, but as she arrived at the dormitory, Nana appeared behind her and knocked her to the ground. As she pulled out a paper from her pocket, she revealed that her necklace wasn't the thing she used to animate Shinji, since she was trying to protect her pocket instead of her necklace the night before. So she told Yuka to follow her, hoping to draw no one's attention. After arriving on the cliff, Yuka began wondering if she had a different talent for escaping the cottage. But Nana told her that she walked out through the front door. She had pretended to seal herself inside before Yuka's arrival, but actually unscrewed the hinge before plastering the surface with a tape. This managed to conceal her plan, but Yuka had thought she was trapped inside. When Yuka wondered why she allowed herself to get sealed inside, Nana revealed that she intended to figure out if she could animate her corpses even during the day. She had carefully laid down her plans, and had decided to attack her when all her zombies had passed out. Realizing it was over for her, Yuka started begging for forgiveness, but asked Nana to return Shinji's piece to her. However, as Nana told her to return her needles first, Yuka did so immediately, but soon discovered that she already threw the paper into the water. This realization made her lose her mind, but Nana began wondering if her earlier story has a single truth in it. However, Yuka began saying that she has no memories of Shinji, but Nana realized that her entire story was fake, and began asking why she only has a ripped piece of paper as Shinji's relic rather than a significant possession. At that moment, Yuka grew afraid that her secret was getting exposed, so she confessed that she actually started the fire to ruin Shinji's date with his true lover. The real Shinji had hated her, but she was bent on having him, and had decided to animate him after causing his death. As she kept on talking, Nana used her needle to end her miserable life, but once she was gone, she wondered why she hung on to the piece of paper rather than throwing it out right away. After all, Yuka had killed over 500,000 people, and Nana wondered if some part of her wanted to spare Yuka, throwing away the paper. So without wasting any time, she pushed her body into the water and noticed that Shinji's body was now starting to rot. After returning to the forest, Nana began wondering if she should have spared Yuka's life after all, and used her powers to unravel how the other corpses were killed. However, as she decided to forget about the corpses and focus on her mission, she eventually came across Habu in the bushes, but the useless bitch nearly wet herself. When Nana wondered why she was lurking around the bushes, Habu told her that she was looking for snakes, because their toxins help her to retain the poison fluids inside her body. Realizing she was all by herself, Nana decided to ask where her ugly partner was, so Habu revealed that they were separated and showed her their final chat together. This was all Nana needed to hear, so as she figured out a plan, she told her that her friend was waiting to reconcile with her in the bushes. But when Habu turned to see for herself, the nutcase pierced her with a needle immediately. With Habu completely paralyzed, Nana began telling her to reveal her phone password, and offered to give her an antidote in exchange. As Habu believed her disgusting lie, she screamed her password immediately, but as Nana opened her hand, Habu realized that there was never an antidote. At that moment, Habu's soul left her body, so Nana decided to drag her to the other zombies, hoping to make her the new murder suspect. A few minutes later, she sneaked into Kaori's room and successfully replaced her contact lenses. However, when she tried to open the window, she discovered that it was stuck and could only be opened on one side, but thought her plans would work out anyway. With her preparations all set, she decided to visit the school, but when Kyoya began asking if she came across Yuka and Shinji, she told him that they were dead, and began an Oscar-winning performance to convince him that she's innocent. Before long, she decided to lead the boys into the forest, revealing that Yuka was actually the necromancer, and that she killed Shinji years ago to make him her boyfriend. So when they arrived at the cliff and saw Shinji's rotten corpse, she told them that she had convinced Yuka that what she was doing was wrong. But Yuka decided to isekai herself by hugging the ocean. Right then, she asked Mugo to burn up the bodies, saying that their souls were screaming in her mind. With everyone creeped out at the thought, Mugo decided to burn the bodies, but Kyoya thought that Nana was suspicious for being at the scene of the crime once again. However, Nana wasn't done, as she decided to lead them to the other zombies, suggesting that Mugo burns them before they began stinking across the island. After returning to the dormitory, Seiya suggested they warn the others about the killer, but the useless ugly liar began saying that it would only make things worse. However, Kyoya wasn't buying her story, and asked her where she has been, since she was always out of sight when someone got killed, and demanded to know why she was snooping around when everyone was in class. At that moment, a girl screamed inside the dormitory, so they hurried in immediately. By the time they arrived, they discovered that another girl was dead, and Kyoya realized that she died a few hours ago. So as he told the boys to get the survival kit, he commanded Nana to stay within sight, threatening to cut off her hands at the slightest movement. Before long, he began examining the body, and soon discovered that Kaori was trying to wear her contact lenses before she died. As he thought it was suspicious, he decided to drink Kaori's white liquid. And at that moment, he began choking on the poison and said it was extremely hot, so Nana opened up the window immediately. However, as he managed to survive, she realized that his body was also immune to poison, but it did make him suffer. At the same time, Kyoya began revealing that Kaori's lens case was poisoned, and said that the killer must have set her up. So with Nana having skipped classes, he thought it makes perfect sense that she sneaked into the room before Kaori returned. Just then, he tried opening up the window, but as he discovered it was stuck, Michiru began saying that Nana was an angel, and wouldn't ever do something so evil. But as they began to leave, Nana decided to ask what Habu's superpower was, seeing as she was closest to the dead girl. When Michiru revealed that her talent was producing poisonous body fluids, Kyoya began thinking she could be responsible, and suggested they find her immediately. However, when they returned a few hours later, they realized that Habu was missing. So to cook up another Hollywood plot, Nana began saying that she heard a monster's thoughts inside the forest, and suggested that Habu was attacked by the enemy of humanity. However, Kyoya thought her lies were starting to get old, and said that the killer was definitely human. As he decided to search the room once more, he asked Nana if she was friends with Kaori. But as the lying moron said they weren't friends, she knew that she just exposed her own lies. Kyoya had intentionally drank from the lens case, but as Nana opened the correct window, he figured out she had been here before, and had instantly considered her a suspect. When he began saying that Nana must have visited the room earlier on, the moronic ugly kid started saying that Nana was certainly innocent, and that she found Kaori's cell phone, which revealed that Habu was the killer. Michiru continued by saying that Habu sent a final text while they were searching around the island, but Kyoya thought that Nana must have sent the text while they were distracted. All her cooked up stories wouldn't persuade him into believing she was innocent, so he told Michiru to stay away from her immediately, saying that she's the actual killer. At that moment, the others arrived, and as Kyoya thought he got a perfect audience, he decided to reveal everything that happened, and said that she must have killed Habu before arriving at school to pretend that she's innocent. He had kept his eyes on her the whole time, and figured she suggested they burn up the bodies just so they wouldn't discover that Habu was dead already. On top of that, she had stolen Habu's phone, and he thought she must have secretly sent the text to lure Kaori into wearing the lens. Desperate to save her lying ass, Nana began saying that she couldn't have possibly sent any texts. But Kyoya thought her lies were getting useless, and said she could have easily read Habu's thoughts and stolen her phone password. At that moment, Nana knew she was screwed, but Kyoya wasn't done. So as he drew closer to her, he began wondering if she was still in possession of Habu's cell phone, having already noticed she was hiding an item inside her clothes. As he decided to search her pockets, he realized they were all empty, but Michiru thought she was innocent, and began saying that Nana isn't the killer. No one realized that Nana had actually left the phone with a zombie, hoping that its melting body would tap the send button. And luckily, it worked out exactly as she planned. But Michiru began asking Kiyoya to apologize to her, saying that his accusations have left her traumatized. So as Kiyoya grew ashamed, he decided to apologize for calling her a suspect. But as Nana realized the opportunity, she began saying that Habu's soul was calling for peace and asked that they never suspect each other again. Somehow, the brain-dead morons accepted every word she said, and she told them to make a report of everything that happens. To gain their trust forever, she decided to shake Kiyoya's hand, but he knew that something was definitely wrong with her. That night, as she pretended to guard the dormitory, Michiru appeared before her and began calling her a hero. So as she sat next to her, she offered to watch over the dormitory instead. But Nana began wondering if she was doing the right thing. While she was pretending to sleep, Michiru began asking why she couldn't read her thoughts, and immediately held a box cutter to her throat. She demanded to know what her real power is, so Nana began saying that she could release poisonous fluids from her body, but Michiru was already sick of her recycled lies. Just then, as she noticed Michiru was distracted, Nana managed to seize her hand, causing the box cutter to fall off. But Michiru had expected this, and began saying that Nana must have been trained as a special agent. Just then, two girls appeared outside, so Michiru pretended they were having a regular conversation, and decided to head inside. At school the next day, Michiru returned again, saying that she brought Nana a present, but asked her to guess what was inside. Sensing it was a trap, the ugly liar began saying that her telepathic brain was on a break, but Michiru told her that she would return. Nana figured she was trying to expose her fake talent, but wondered how she could outsmart her. At lunch, when Kiyoya arrived in class, he noticed that all the students were gathered around Nana, as Michiru continued persuading her to reveal the item inside her box. Afraid of getting exposed, Nana decided to guess that it was a greeting card, but Michiru revealed a bath set. However, Nana had already prepared a backup plan, and told her that she could read the friendly message inside her thoughts. At that moment, Kiyoya arrived, saying that a love note to Nana was glued on Michiru's back. At the same time, all the other students noticed it, and they thought Nana's mind-reading ability must be real, believing she must have read their thoughts to discover the love note on Michiru's back. Deciding to play along, Michiru began saying that Nana was real after all, but Kiyoya wondered who glued the note to her back. At sunset, while Nana and Michiru were on the cliff, Nana began asking where he hid the real Michiru. She had noticed that Michiru was hiding her bruises with a tape, and thought she was definitely fake, seeing as the real Michiru could have easily healed the scratch. She thought an enemy must have transformed into her body, and wondered if the real Michiru was still alive. Impressed by her intelligence, the girl decided to reveal that she's actually not Michiru, but that she had taken her form just to discover who Nana really is. At that moment, he revealed his true form, and introduced himself as Jin, saying that he was a former student in the school, but asked to speak with her privately. After arriving inside his cave, he began saying that he's seeking an ally, and that the zombies Yuka summoned were his old friends that died 5 years ago. When Nana began wondering who he really is, Jin revealed that he was the stray cat whom Kiyoya was feeding milk. But in hopes of hearing her own secrets, he decided to reveal everything that happened 5 years ago. When they were first brought into the island, they had noticed that their friends were going missing, so they began killing each other in a desperate attempt to become the leader. Eventually, they would split into factions, and started warring across the island. They were deluded into believing that they were all enemies of humanity, and even after the officials abandoned them, the leaders of the factions decided to continue the war. After everyone was dead, he decided to return home, but soon discovered that government agents were trying to end him. So as he managed to escape, he began observing the island, having suspected that the government were trying to eliminate the Talentids. Just then, he began choking, so as Nana revealed that she already slipped poison into his tea, his soul left his body instantly. Proud of her success, she decided to report his death to the committee, but Kiyoya took her phone immediately, realizing it holds all her secrets. At that moment, Nana realized she was screwed, but soon discovered that Jin was alive, who had already taken Michiru's form. So as he began to reveal his intentional slip-ups, he told her that he can use the powers of anything he transforms into, and that he managed to survive the past war because of this broken ability. However, Nana thought he was the real enemy of humanity, and realized she couldn't allow him to survive. As Jin wondered who she was trying to call, Nana discovered that her foot has been frozen to the ground, but thought she could still outsmart him. So she told him to transform into her body and use her memories to discover the whole truth. However, as he began reading through her diary, she managed to free her foot from the ice and hurried out of the cave. But as she began running towards the forest, hoping to reveal Jin's identity to the others, she noticed Mugo approaching her with a massive fireball. Before she knew it, he blasted her with the fire, nearly obliterating her worthless body. But when it was over, Jin decided to apologize for nearly roasting her body, and revealed that he could hardly control his powers after transforming into another being. He told her that he wishes to know her better and asked about her childhood, promising to spare her life if she reveals the whole truth. Having no other choice, Nana began revealing her past, saying that her parents were murdered when she was a kid. She thought the killer was an enemy of humanity and had been traumatized by the memory ever since. However, having lost all her strength, she began to slip into unconsciousness. But just before she passed out, Jin began telling her that the Talentids were being abandoned and untrained. It was only a matter of time before they began to lose control of their powers and start to unleash their killer instincts all across the island. The next day, when Nana woke up, she realized that she was back inside her dormitory, and Michiru was glad to see her awake. As Nana wondered how she managed to return, Michiru told her that she found her body outside her room, but she realized that Jin must have brought her back. As Michiru began wondering how she manages to keep fighting on her own, the memories from her childhood flashed across her mind. And as Nana told her that she isn't afraid of anyone, she realized that she had accidentally broken character. However, she decided to reveal that her parents were killed by the enemies of humanity, and that the memories were haunting her thoughts. Hearing her words, the ugly moron began to cry, apologizing for accidentally triggering her trauma. But Nana knew she was just another useless ugly loser who would soon be sent to Nirvana.
Now listen! That's called motherfucking bars, nigga! You know nothing about that!
She thought Michiru would equally have her own dark side. After all, she had killed over 150,000 people, and decided that she would eliminate her once she discovers that she's just another deranged killer. Right then, she realized she could sell her sob story to gain support in the future, so she began saying that she was responsible for her own parents' murder, having accidentally opened up the window for the enemy. But after realizing that Michiru had already forgotten about breaking her character, she pretended to be too sick to continue. That night, during the funerals, the teacher told Kiyoya that the classes would be cancelled until the murder case was solved. But Kiyoya demanded to speak with the higher-ups, saying that he intends to give them a piece of his mind. At the same time, Nana's old memories were starting to return, but she soon noticed that Michiru was beginning to grow weak, and thought her powers were starting to shorten her lifespan. Later in her room, as she began wondering whom her next victim should be, Jin appeared inside, saying that he was relieved to see her alive. Looking to discover his weakness, Nana began wondering why he didn't transform into Michiru and healed her wound. But Jin revealed that the healing would end his life immediately. Hearing these words, Nana realized that Jin suffered a worse version of the weaknesses when he transforms into a Talentid's body. But Jin asked for the rest of her childhood story, offering to give back her phone in return. At that moment, Nana discovered that Michiru was outside her room, and the useless girl told her that she was afraid of sleeping alone. So after realizing that Jin had already transformed into a cat, Nana decided to allow her inside. Before long, she figured out that Michiru actually intends to hear the rest of her childhood story, and even the cat was eager to know what happened. So thinking it would eventually be to her advantage, Nana decided to reveal her entire story. When she was a younger kid, she had a rare talent for games, and even became a chess master when she was only 4. However, on a particular night, she decided to sneak out the window to the convenience store, but after returning, she fell asleep, forgetting to shut the window. Her parents had always warned her to clean the mess she made with her toys, and to always lock her window. But after waking up in the morning, she discovered that they were both dead, and the police had revealed that the killer sneaked in through the exposed window. The guilt had plagued her for years, and she blamed herself for their deaths. However, as the memories began to overwhelm her, Michiru held her hand for support, and her warm touch brought peace into Nana's soul. The following morning, when she woke up, she realized that Michiru stayed awake all night, but Kiyoya barged inside immediately. As he ignored Nana's ugly face, he decided to ask Michiru if she stayed with her all through the night. As she told him that they were together, he told them to follow him immediately. Before long, they arrived at the boys' dormitory, so Kiyoya decided to show them a random room. As they looked inside, they discovered that another student has been killed, and Nana realized that she wasn't the only killer on the island. Just then, Kiyoya began saying that he noticed a stab wound on the dead body. But as he decided to ask where Mugo was the previous night, the fatso immediately told him that he was hanging out with the other losers and was giving them a motivational speech about the secrets of plot development. Determined to figure out the truth anyway, Kyoya decided to ask what their talents were. As Mugo thought it was irrelevant and tried to stop him, Nana told him to allow Kyoya to uncover the truth. At that moment, one of the losers decided to mimic Nana's voice, but Kyoya thought he was too weak and useless to be the killer. When it was another loser's turn, the boy decided to kneel on the floor, but as they began wondering if he passed out, they realized that the bathroom was in use. While they were wondering who it was, the boy revealed that he did an astral travel into the bathroom, as he could easily teleport his soul outside his body. When it was time for the last loser to show off, the meathead decided to magnetize a clock with his hand, before revealing that he has the ability to turn his body into a magnet. With Nana growing confused, she began wondering if the victim truly died the previous night. So as Kyoya told her that he did, he revealed that he spotted him during the mass funeral, before he was found dead inside his room. Just then, his lover decided to introduce herself and told them that her name is Fuko. Since she found his body first, Kyoya decided to ask why she came into his room, so she told him that it was only a habit. However, Kyoya could see through her disgusting lies and told her to reveal her talent, but she suggested they head outside. After arriving outside the dormitory, she decided to explain that she could channel the atmosphere in launching her attack. But Kyoya would not take her word for it, and told her to unleash her powers on him. So after the others retreated, she decided to summon a powerful wind and cast it towards him, slashing his chest as he hit the ground. Afraid he wouldn't survive, she began running towards him. But Kyoya's wound began to heal, and he thought she could have easily killed Ishii from outside. At that moment, the teacher started running towards them, saying that the higher-ups were on the phone, and Kyoya was glad that he would finally give them a piece of his mind. Later that day, Nana decided to return to the crime scene, hoping to find clues for the murder, and soon noticed moths under the bed. She thought it was suspicious, but soon discovered that Michiru has been mysteriously quiet all through the day, so as they had lunch, she began wondering if Michiru was starting to suspect her for the past murders. Just then, Michiru began asking a bunch of questions about her future, and wondered if she would move in with her family once they leave the island. However, Nana thought she was trying to lure her into a trap, so she slammed her bowl, and told her to stop talking about her family. Inside her room, as Nana began wondering if Michiru was trying to get her to reveal her secrets, the teacher arrived to give her a new uniform, saying that Michiru reported her old one was ripped up. As Nana accepted it, she realized that Michiru must have found the poison bottle in her old uniform, and thought she must have noticed it after changing her clothes. Just as she began thinking that Michiru must have handed it over to Kyoya, L with good posture appeared at that moment, wondering if she had a fight with Michiru. He had noticed she was sad and was trying to make conversation, but she eventually refused to reveal anything. However, he was looking to interrogate Fuko, so he told Nana to follow him. As he tried to leave, the teacher told him that the request to the higher-ups was successful, and that they would be sending a representative from the headquarters. Hearing these words, Nana wondered how he managed to persuade the committee to come to the island, but thought she must kill as many of the students as possible before the island descends into war. Inside Fuko's room, Kyoya decided to ask where she's been ever since the funerals were over, so she told him that her friend came over and spent the night with her. Thinking he's heard enough, Kyoya decided to leave. But as they began walking down the corridor, he asked Nana if she believes Fuko was telling the truth using her mind-reading ability. Hoping she wouldn't slip up, Nana tried pretending like she had no idea what he meant, but told him that she thinks Fuko is innocent, because after the funerals ended, Mugo had given a 5-hour pep talk to the 3 losers, and Nana thought they would have certainly heard Ishii's screams when the killer tried to murder him. Due to this, she thought Ishii was killed after Mugo was done with his useless pep talk, and with Fuko having revealed that she spent the entire night in company of her friend, Nana thought it was definitely someone else. However, Kyoya wasn't convinced, and began saying that Ishii must have surely been killed during Mugo's pep talk. He had noticed the moths under his bed, and thought they were lured in by the light. However, since Ishii was known for going to bed early, Kyoya thought he must have been isekai right before he slept, as he was convinced that he would have definitely turned the lights off before sleeping. When Nana wondered if the killer could have sneaked in through the window while Ishii was asleep, Kyoya told her it was impossible, because the killer could not have possibly turned on the lights to draw attention. Moreover, Ishii's talent was to shrink himself, and Kyoya thought he could have easily hidden somewhere he wouldn't be seen. For all he was concerned, Fuko and Ishii must have gotten in a fight, and after managing to poison his drink, Kiyoya thought she must have slashed his throat before escaping. That night, as Nana decided to visit Michiru's room, she realized she was inside the shower and decided to search her room for clues. However, after coming across her diary, she began to read it. Inside, she discovered that every single thing Michiru wrote down happened to be about her best friend, Nana, as she thought she was the bravest person she'd ever met, detailing every part of their lives together. And as if it wasn't enough, her mysterious silence was caused by her desire to buy Nana a gift, and she thought it would make her feel better for losing her parents. At that moment, Jin appeared with the poison, and told her that Michiru has always been a good friend all along. With Nana in shock from the realization, she decided to ask why Jin was revealing the truth to her. So he told her that he intends to find the committee that trained her into becoming a serial killer. He told her that he was leaving the island in the meantime, and warned her to check Michiru in the shower. At that instant, Nana realized she had been inside for too long, and as she decided to check on her, she discovered that Michiru was unconscious. Realizing she's still breathing, she decided to pull her out of the water, afraid that her plans would be ruined once Michiru was dead. As she laid her inside her room, Nana discovered that she has a high fever. But as she began coughing, she realized that she was extremely dehydrated, and thought she wouldn't survive until the morning if she wasn't treated immediately. So that same night, she decided to visit the teacher and demanded for a doctor that would treat Michiru. But he told her that the doctor had left the island. As Nana noticed that the other teachers were missing, he told her that they had already gone to the teacher's faculty, because even they were scared for their lives. So having no other choice, Nana decided to ask for Kiyoya's help, but he told her that he was examining Ishii's corpse to figure out his time of death. As she realized she was running out of time, she decided to ask for medications instead. Once she got it, she started running towards the cafeteria, hoping to get some food for Michiru. After arriving, she realized that the door was locked, but broke the glass with a stone. As she tried to open it from the inside, she nicked her finger and realized that she needed to be careful. After returning to the dormitory, Nana began trying to cool off Michiru's body temperature, but Kiyoya arrived to examine her body. By the time he was done, he noticed that Michiru's room was scattered, and thought that Nana must have definitely been digging through her drawers. The next day, as Kiyoya decided to search one of the boys' rooms, Yuji began telling him that he found dead rabbits near the school bushes, and that they were killed the same way Ishii was murdered. He thought the killer could be responsible, but Kiyoya wondered how the loser managed to listen to Mugo's moronic speech for 5 hours. In Michiru's room, Nana realized that her fever was going down, and was glad that the girl would survive after all. At that moment, Fuko entered the room, and began asking if Michiru's wound was starting to heal. But Nana thought she was suspicious, seeing as she never told her that Michiru was sick. Even so, Fuko wouldn't give up, and offered to watch over Michiru in the meantime, suggesting that Nana gets some rest. But Nana told her that her ugly blind face deserves to be laid to eternal rest.
You're a victim!
Realizing her words were as useless as her face, Fuko decided to leave, but Nana began wondering if Michiru was a witness to Ishii's murder, and thought Fuko was seeking the right opportunity to silence her forever. The following day, as she eventually woke up, Michiru revealed that she fell sick after healing a wounded cat, and Nana was glad that her friend didn't end up dying. Thinking she needed to rest, Nana told her to lay in bed, offering to serve her tea. But as Michiru noticed her nicked finger, she tried to lick it, but Nana moved away immediately, accidentally throwing off the kettle. As she thought Michiru's health would grow worse, Nana screamed at her to prioritize her own life. Meanwhile in the forest, Jin noticed a dead rabbit, and decided to ask a mysterious shadow why he was killing the animals. The same loser had killed the stray cat that Michiru managed to heal, but as Jin thought it was getting out of hand, he told him to stay away from the forest. At the dormitory, Kiyoya came across Rentaro, and began asking who Ishii really was, but as he started saying that he was the best dude with the smoothest pickup lines, he drastically turned sad, and Kiyoya realized he was hiding his true feelings. In Michiru's room, as they began having lunch, Nana realized she was losing time, and thought she could easily kill Fuko, and persuade everyone into thinking that she isekai'd herself. Looking to utilize the rest of her time, she tried to leave, but Michiru asked her to stay, saying that she was afraid of staying alone. However, Nana thought she would be considered a failure once the committee got involved, and decided to leave anyway. As she was heading to her room, she thought her master would hate her for developing a bond with a talented, and thought she must kill everyone as soon as she could. However, she eventually returned to Michiru's room, and decided to ask her why she tried to heal the useless girls who bullied and teased her with the fake love letter. So Michiru told her that everyone deserves to be saved, and said that she was willing to show everyone kindness. Just then, Nana remembered a name called Hitomi inside her diary, and decided to ask who she was, pretending to have read it in her thoughts. So as Michiru fell for her worthless lie, she told her that Hitomi saved her life, and decided to reveal the story. When she was much younger, she got bullied at school for healing her crush, and was eventually shunned like a plague. However, one day, after healing a puppy, a new girl appeared and thanked her for saving her dog. Her name was Hitomi, and ever since, she had become her guardian angel and threatened to beat up all the bullies. And as days passed, they started having lunch and even hanging out after school. But when Hitomi mysteriously vanished, Michiru thought she abandoned her. But one day, Michiru passed out at a hospital, and as Hitomi visited her, she decided to reveal that she has been sick with cancer. While at school, she had pretended to be fine, but had decided to quit after her health grew worse. The revelation made Michiru sad, but after a few weeks, she discovered that Hitomi had passed away, and felt useless for being unable to heal her. This was the reason she always wanted to heal everyone, and she was willing to sacrifice her own life for others. At that moment, Nana was completely speechless, but as Michiru wondered if she got possessed by a ghost, she decided to leave immediately. However, once she was outside her room, she broke down on her knees, realizing that Michiru was a kind, innocent soul, and wondered how it was possible that she killed 150,000 people. Inside her room, Nana's old memories began to return, and she remembered that everyone had blamed her for the death of her parents. Just then, Michiru entered and began telling her to search through her memories. She was convinced that Nana wasn't the cause of her parents' death, and told her to try and remember exactly what happened on the day she found them dead. Right then, Nana remembered that she didn't trip in the morning, and Michiru revealed that her parents cleaned her room by the time she woke up, and even locked up her window when they were done, since they always reminded her to do that. At that moment, Nana realized she wasn't the reason her parents died after all, but as she tried blaming herself anyway, Michiru hugged her immediately. Right then, Nana realized that she has been worried about her these past few days, and that she was always in deep thought to prove that Nana was innocent. When Michiru began telling her that she intends to buy her a gift, Nana began wondering if she truly deserves her friendship. The next day, as they decided to shop for gifts, Nana noticed a beautiful pen, and began wondering if it would make a lovely gift. But as Kiyoya appeared behind her, he started saying that he needs her help to capture the killer. He thought it was only a matter of time before the psycho begins to search for a new victim, and thought it could be any of them. At sunset, Nana and Michiru started returning to the dormitory, but as Nana decided to give her the pen, Michiru told her that she also bought her a gift. So as Nana slept that night, she cuddled the gift and was excited about her new friendship. But Jin appeared at her window. When Nana wondered why he returned to the island, he began telling her that Michiru is in danger, having been lured towards the sea by the killer. Realizing her first real friend was about to die, Nana hurried out immediately. But after arriving outside, she realized that she was better off asking for Kiyoya's support. Meanwhile, in the forest, an invisible hand sliced Michiru across the face, but when she wondered who it was, the invisible man told her that he came to kill her. At the same time, Nana was running towards the sea, but as her master called her at that moment, asking about whom she intends to kill next, Nana realized she was screwed. However, she managed to pretend that she was on the hunt for another victim, and after the call was over, she began thinking that she should abandon Michiru, since she was another talented she needed to kill eventually anyway. In the forest, Michiru was running for her life, but was eventually shoved towards the cottage. However, she thought that Nana would come to save her, but the invisible man thought that she would never do that, since she was always lying, and decided to end her life.
まあ、死んでください。
After the killer pulled out the knife, Nana realized he was Rentaro, and revealed that he must have slipped out of his body when he murdered Ishii in the same way. As Rentaro returned, Nana managed to protect Michiru once more, and told her to run away once she successfully distracts him. So as he tried to end her this time, she managed to hold the knife, but it pierced her shoulder. Even so, she decided to hold it with all her strength, and screamed at Michiru to run away. However, when Michiru wanted to stay for her friend, she began screaming at her to go away, telling her that she's never thought of her as a friend, and has only been using her as a useful dog, saying she's always hated her. Hearing these words, Michiru began to cry, before running off into the forests. However, Nana was glad to have successfully made her run away, but as Rentaro decided to kill her, He felt his physical body was being strangled, and Nana was glad that Kyoya eventually found his body. At the same time, Kyoya was squeezing the life out of him, and as his soul returned into his body, he shoved him to the floor. Kyoya began telling him that he searched the entire school for his body, as he remembered that Nana had actually revealed everything, even suggesting he finds his body. And after he noticed that she was really worried about Michiru's safety, he had agreed with her plan, but wondered if he would ever uncover Nana's own crimes. At the cabin, Nana laid unconscious on the ground, having been brutally wounded by Rentero's knife, and as she realized that her soul was about to leave her body, all her previous murders began flashing across her mind. She thought she deserved to die, and was glad that she would be reunited with her parents' souls. However, as she grew sad that she would lose her newfound friendship, she realized that Michiru had returned to her side, and was sad to see her slipping away. Somehow, Nana managed to recover, and as she stood on the shore, she realized she was lucky to have been revived. However, as she decided to check Michiru's body, she discovered that her only friend had sacrificed herself for Nana to keep living. The memories of their time together began flashing across her mind, and as Nana began to cry, the only thing she could scream was the word no repeatedly. Watch this next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.